I'm gonna cover necessity and duress at the same time. Necessity, I needed to do it. Duress, someone made me do it. They are very similar. And a lot of times you'll be able to argue both. Well, in duress cases, you would theoretically be able to argue both, but you would just argue duress. It's slightly easier to meet if it's a duress case, which, yeah. All right, so what is necessity? I needed to do it. Whatever the crime it is, I had to do it. I was choosing between the lesser of two evils, say my death and breaking into someone's house. You know, we would all hate to see me die. Duress is, I know I was selling drugs, but that guy over there is going to shoot me if I don't sell drugs. That's the defense of duress. Yeah, that's pretty much them. I'm going to pull up the charts here for nuances. I don't want to try and say a bunch of incorrect stuff. Under the NPC, you can use these defenses for murder. Under under the common law, you can't. That's the big differences. But I'll pull up the full necessity. So it has to be a choice of a lesser of two evils. It has to actually be the lesser of two evils. This is common law and NPC. No other alternative. And you actually have to believe that your conduct is necessary. The imminency requirements under the common law, there needs to be an immediate issue. NPC doesn't care about immediacy, which makes sense. Immediacy is kind of a weird, unnecessary element. The defendant cannot have created the necessity under the common law, whereas the NPC allows you to actually do that. However, if you were reckless in creating the situation, you have a mens rea of reckless. You meet a mens rea of reckless or negligent for whatever crimes you commit. If you were negligent in creating the situation, same thing with negligence. So if you have a necessity defense, and you have, if you have the necessity defense, and then but you were reckless in creating the necessity. Yeah, reckless in creating the necessity. Reckless. The NPC, that makes sense. I like that. That seems to work, right? Because if I purposely created this shitty situation, but I can solve it with a minor crime, I shouldn't be responsible for that minor crime. I should be responsible for the shitty situation, generally speaking. And then if statutes can reject your choice. So climbers, say you're climbing a mountain and you have to cut some guys loose. That's murder. You've killed someone. You've purposefully killed someone. I would say no. I would say knowingly, since that wasn't really your intent. Your intent was to survive, but you knowingly killed somebody, which is the same for all murder statutes. You've committed top tier murder under both the NPC and the common law. The NPC would actually the common law would find you guilty. No one's going to sue you over this generally, but you would be guilty. You did it. Under the NPC, you'd be able to say, yeah, but I had to. Otherwise, I would have died. It is the lesser of two evils, and it's not like I actually caused their death. They're going to die anyway. And that might actually be a reasonable defense under the common law, but it's a very good defense under the NPC. Give me 1 minute. Sorry, just a little... yeah, sorry, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed in that climbing example that I was trying to illustrate. Oh, well, if you're the climber, you created this, but were you negligent in, creating the situation? I guess if you woke up that morning and you knew it was going to snow and it was going to be a blizzard and you shouldn't have been climbing, you were negligent or reckless, it would just depend on whether you could subjectively prove recklessness. So, yeah, not good. But you would be able to defend yourself against a first-degree murder charge or a charge of, murder under the NPC. And yeah, common law cannot be used, whereas under the NPC it can be used as a defense against murder. Duress is, again, somebody's threatening you. So under the common law, threat causing objectively reasonable fear, it must be of serious bodily harm, it must be to you or a close relative, it must be imminent, and you can't use it for murder. The NPC throws all of that out and does its own dang thing. Coercion based on the use of force that a person of reasonable firmness would not be able to resist. I'm trying to think. I am, I don't want to be tortured very much. Um, let's say someone is saying, all right, look, if you don't kill this person, we're going to cover you in paper cuts and roll you in salt forever, for all eternity, until you die. Okay, yeah, I might consider murdering someone. And I don't think somebody with a reasonable firmness wants to get turned into a margarita. So, um, yeah, that's a defense. Again, it would depend on what a jury says, but under the MPC, that well, you could use that defense because you can also use duress for a defense to murder. You would have two problems with there under the common law, but the main one would be that it doesn't apply to murder. The threat must be of unlawful force. That's the threat. It doesn't actually have to be of serious bodily harm. But again, the threat posed needs to scale with the crime you do. So if you are threatened with a tiny paper cut, you can do tiny paper cut level crimes. If you're threatened with murder, you can do big murder level crimes. No imminency requirement. If someone says, if you don't do this, I'm going to spend the rest of my life hunting you down, yeah, that's a fair play, whereas under the common law it might not be because it's not an imminent threat. The threat can be to anyone, by the way, under the MPC, not so under the common law, which this is one of the best things the MPC does. I don't know how much more difficult it would be for me to resist a threat to someone I knew versus someone I didn't know, right? If somebody says, steal $1 million or we're going to kill this person, I'm going to steal $1 million because please don't kill people. Under the common law, if a prosecutor decided to charge me, I guess I will. And that's what I think. It's the common law. It's the MPC ceding power to the juries, which is appropriate since juries should be allowed to make most of these decisions. I'm of the firm opinion that, criminally speaking, you should basically just let juries decide as much as you can. Because I think if 12 people want to nullify something, they should be allowed to nullify it. In fact, I think if 1 out of 12 person wants to be able to nullify it, they should be able to nullify it. Because they can. They already can. So why are we adding all these rules and instructions when, if you know anything about jury trials, it's that you have the power. If you hang the jury is hung and it can't be overturned. Generally speaking, I know there's exceptions, and I think that's correct for criminal law. I do think though that and judges can overturn wrongful convictions, but they can't overturn wrongful findings of innocence, exculpations, something like that. All right, that's duress and necessity.